Mother and son reunion Christmas Day after 6 long years of judicial alienation. A happy custody crisis story for the holiday season. Amazingly, we have a happy mama and son reunion story for the 2025 holiday season. A British mother is being allowed to spend Christmas Day with her teenage son after 6 whole years of judicial alienation, but only after the teen himself devised a scheme to make it happen. Of course, the mother still has zero power herself to see her own children. It was a 1-2 punch to this victory. First, the teen made trouble by running away and getting his own attorney. Then, he got media to cover his sickening saga of being taken and kept away from his mother via family court. The mother has not been able to speak out about her case due to the automatic confidentiality of custody cases in the UK. This is a holdover from the old patriarchal tradition. It's a private family matter, meant, of course, to cover up abuse of wives and children by husbands. However, due to a recent exception to the law, the judgment that permitted the Xmas visit between mother and son has been made public. But the abuse by the father is still being covered up. This latest order is obviously damage control due to the publicity on the case. The new judge goes to great lengths to exonerate the old judge by scapegoating the evaluator. And the terms alienation, brainwashing, and reunification are being wrongly used as usual. More on that later, but first, Meg's story. Meg gave birth to Anna in 2007 and Leon in 2010. She was always the primary nurturer. Her husband, Fred, became abusive at some point. This caused the relationship to end in 2018 when the kids were 11 and 8. Meg filed for divorce and reported the abuse. It is not known what kind of abuse due to the confidentiality/cover-up. At some point, Fred fired back, claiming the reports of abuse by her and or the children were due to alienation by Meg, hence counterclaiming emotional abuse of the children by Meg, the usual. Judge Jeffrey Smith presided over the case. He appointed a now infamous evaluator, called an expert in the UK, Melanie Gill. She is known for falsely accusing mothers of alienating children from fathers and using that to recommend sole custody to the father. Despite Meg's reports of abuse, on the record, Judge Smith neglected to order an investigation to get to the truth of the matter. Supposedly, he did not investigate the abuse because Jill said it was not necessary. Right. At the final hearing in 2019, Judge Smith found that Meg had caused her children significant emotional harm and had actively alienated them from their father. He ordered reunification therapy for the children. No mention of the credible reports of abuse by Fred. Smith tricked Meg. At the hearing, he unexpectedly gave sole custody to Fred and ordered no contact with Meg. She had not expected this dire action. She had dropped the kids off at her friend's house, expecting to pick them up after court. But that was not to be. Newly empowered by Smith, Fred took the kids to his house, forevermore. He had gotten a stepmother to raise them, as usual. Meg was not even allowed to say goodbye to her babies. Worse, Anna and Leon were not allowed to say goodbye to their mother, their primary bond and nurturer, with whom they had lived their entire lives. Can you imagine the trauma that caused? The cover-up of the father's abuse and inevitable switching of custody was now complete. The patriarchal agenda was achieved. Judge Smith's work was done. He gave Fred total control over his children, his property, and the ability to continuously punish and torture his insubordinate ex-wife by taking and abusing her beloved babies. The next year, Meg applied for a modification of that ruling, asking for visits with her children. It was dismissed, likely with the admonishment to not file any more motions. And so, Meg did not see either of her precious children at all until this year. In January of this year, Anna appeared on Meg's doorstep. She was 17. Fred did not contest this move since she was so close to 18. Also, he likely believed the brainwashing had mostly worked, and it had. Rebonding was difficult with Anna due to the alienation by Fred, assisted by the reunification psychologist. Meg tried her best to help Anna see she had been lied to by her father and wrongly taken away by the court, but she did not want to hear about the past. She wanted to move on, the indoctrination mantra. This was hurtful to Meg, who had suffered so much from the alienation. Anna eventually returned to live with her father, but Anna was able to get word back to Leon about how much Meg still loved and missed them both. This made him incredibly happy, and he found a way to secretly contact her. The brainwashing had not worked as well on Leon, so the reconnection went smoothly and quickly. He understood he had been lied to by his father and treated terribly by the court. He wanted to be back, living with his mother badly. In April, Meg filed a motion to set aside Judge Smith's order. She cited the new policy on the misuse of parental alienation in family court. It was ignored, so Leon devised his own plan. In November, he hired his own attorney to file a motion in family court for a change of custody to his mother. On the afternoon of November 13th, he ran away to his mother's house. Meg said seeing him again was amazing. He was very clingy and kept saying, "I love you and I've missed you." It was very moving. He went away as a little boy, and he's come back as this big strapping lad with this deep voice. Fred immediately called the police, who raided Meg's house at 4 a.m. in the morning to capture Leon and return him to his rightful owner. Can you imagine police doing that if a mother wanted them to return a child truly abducted by the father? Never. They would just tell her to go back to family court. Leon refused to go back to his father's, so the police handed him over to social services. He said he would rather be in foster care than with his father, all part of his master plan to get back with his mother. A journalist at the Bureau of Investigative Journalism found out about his case. She requested access to the documents and permission to report on it anonymously. That was the turning point. The family court itself was now on trial. They could no longer get away with their disgusting treatment of Leon and Meg without the public becoming aware of it. Damage control was necessary. Enter Judge Natalie Levin. Leon's attorney filed an emergency motion, claiming Leon was seriously unhappy and being mistreated in the foster care system. He asked to live with his mother, or, if that was not possible, to stay with a friend of hers in the meantime. Judge Levin declared she was not interested in anything that had happened in the past. Read abuse by the father. She would make a temporary order until the case could be heard by none other than the president of the family court, Justice McFarland, in January, who has a long history with the custody crisis. Judge Levin admitted in her judgment that no contact with Meg had been too drastic, but she went through contortions to exonerate Judge Smith by placing all the blame on the evaluator, as if Smith had no agency in the matter. Throw the evaluator under the bus? That's exactly what they're there for. Levin blamed the whole mess on parental conflict, also shifting blame from the father. She said that Leon needed space from both parents. She appointed a social worker to submit a report. The social worker claimed Meg was still an alienator, saying that Meg was still an alienator. The social worker said, "The parental alienation remains live and is already hindering Leon's relationships and worldview." This provided Levin a basis to refuse Leon's request to live with his mother, which is why the social worker was appointed in the first place, to assist the court in the already decided ruling. But she knew she had to allow Leon to live with Meg's friend and at least have supervised visits due to the publicity. Giving him back to the father would give her and the court a black eye, and Judge Levin allowed one unsupervised visit on Christmas Day. How generous of her. Meg has had a couple of supervised visits since the hearing on November 27th. She reflected, "It was lovely. When he visited my home for the first time, knowing nobody was going to turn up and take him away, I made his favorite fish pie, and we decorated the Christmas tree." She says Leon was over the moon, when he realized that she'd kept all his old belongings in his room and that she had hung pictures he had drawn up on the walls. She said he was thrilled to see he wasn't a forgotten child. Meg had saved all his Christmas presents for the 6 years he was gone. She told him he could open them at the last visit, but he said, "No, Mom, I want to open them when I'm here this Christmas Day." So, in 4 days, Leon and his mother will finally be able to have a normal relationship again with nobody scrutinizing their every move. For 1 day, hopefully Judge McFarland will do the right thing on January 30th and allow Leon, at nearly 16 years old, to live where he feels loved and nurtured with his mama. Takeaways. The most interesting takeaway in this case is the gaslighting by the court regarding alienation, brainwashing, and reunification. It exemplifies the misuse of these terms and concepts in countless custody crisis cases. On the one hand, the mother is falsely accused of alienating and brainwashing her children. On the other, the father is allowed to actually alienate and brainwash them. The judge orders reunification therapy, supposedly to cure non-existent alienation by the mother. But it is not reunification therapy at all. It is actually brainwashing children to live a lie that their father is not abusive and their mother is, and ultimately to get them under their father's control. This is why we call it judicial alienation. It is the judge who enables the alienation by giving sole custody to the father and appointing a therapist to do the brainwashing. Leon was unusual in resisting the brainwashing, while most kids, like Anna, could not. Anna would benefit from real reunification therapy because she was truly brainwashed. But a judge would never appoint a real reunification therapist to unbrainwash a child whom they had deliberately caused to be brainwashed. The important takeaway here is that these terms are being wrongly used by judges. So, instead of advocating to ban reunification therapy, activists should be countering the gaslighting by making it clear that reunification is not what is being ordered. It is brainwashing. The same goes for alienation. The problem is not the term parental alienation or even alienation. It is that judges are falsely finding mothers to be alienating and allowing fathers to truly alienate. And it is the family court system that allows judges to lie about alienation, brainwashing, and reunification. Banning valid concepts is confusing and won't help, but banning family courts would. Join the Women's Coalition, where we are fighting to at least get custody cases out of family court and into a real court with juries as fact finders, not judges with an agenda. Join Sisters in Solidarity if you'd like to engage in activism to end the crisis. Happy Christmas Day reunion to Meg and Leon.